Racing games have been a favorite gaming genre for me as long as I can remember playing video games. I grew up with a Nintendo 64 as my first console, and my first racing game was Beetle Adventure Racing, a game made by Electronic Arts that had 6 tracks and multiple variants of one vehicle, the Volkswagen Beetle. Now this game did not stay memorable for me, aside from a nostalgia factor looking back at a younger time. The ones that did stick would come along a little later. I had missed out on F-Zero X until playing it at a friend's house in the year 2000. I was stunned! 30 unique machines, each with unique pilots, 4 cups, 6 tracks, X Cup? You have more intense combat than was ever offered from Beetle Adventure Racing, even if they did have a weapon system with the Beetle Battle multiplayer mode. It didn't matter! You have a mode where the only objective is to be the last one standing in Death Race! This was the new style of racing. It's all about maximum speed and taking down anyone foolish enough to stand between you and victory. Now before we get started, I did not play the original F-Zero until I got it on the Wii Virtual Console, since I was born after the release of F-Zero for SNES, and did not get a Nintendo 64 until 1999. As a result, I have also not played the original Wipeout games, and started with Wipeout HD Fury, as a thanks from Sony for having my PS3 info end up where it shouldn't have. However, this video will focus on F-Zero predominantly, and the games played in its absence. Before the Wii and PS3, there was one racing game that dominated my attention. F-Zero GX, my all-time favorite video game. For me, F-Zero GX ages like a fine wine. I see what was achieved 20 years ago and wonder how something could look so advanced for its time. Released in Japan on July 25th, 2003, and North America 1 month later. F-Zero GX was the first significant collaboration between Nintendo and Sega. Developed by Amusement Vision, who would later become Ryuga Gotoku Studio. Yes, the Like a Dragon series studio. F-Zero GX would run on an enhanced version of the Super Monkey Ball engine and take everything about F-Zero X to ridiculous heights. You now had a story mode with 9 chapters, 3 difficulties each, and people who argue to this day which chapter was the hardest, when the answer is 7. I don't know who says 2, but they drained their boost way too early instead of the Hail Mary finish that's been intended. Chapter 6, don't slow down. It's turbo power! Considering RGG was responsible for this game, I had always fantasized when I found out about the Like a Dragon series if they had used the open world space that they built on for F-Zero GX as its own thing. Nintendo said they had no ideas for another installment. Maybe there's one. F-Zero GX also had an arcade version that came from adding Namco to the collaboration. F-Zero AX would be made with a Triforce system board that would allow you to utilize GameCube memory cards at the arcade. This would allow you to earn unique parts and pilots, and an all-new cup with AX tracks appropriately dubbed the AX Cup. And the fact that I was lucky enough to have a standard model in my area to play? Oh. I played GX at home. I went on weekends with money built up from allowance doing chores at the house, in between sweating my ass off at Dance Dance Revolution, as any arcade child of the 2000s will tell you. It was peak gaming. Nintendo went all in, and then doubled down, which would unfortunately be a misstep. 1 year after this magnum opus of future racing games, there was an oversaturation of F-Zero. F-Zero GP Legend came in the form of an anime that inevitably flopped, to the point the last episodes never made it to air in the US. But 2 handheld tie-in games were released barely a year apart. F-Zero GP Legend was the first, released in Japan on November 28, 2003, and North America on September 20th, 2004. The second was F-Zero Climax, a Japanese-only game released on October 21st, 2004, because GP Legend almost sold too well in North America. Both of these games would utilize improved Mode 7 effects on the Game Boy Advance. Climax focuses on the events at the conclusion of F-Zero GP Legend, the anime, just to avoid confusion, while F-Zero GP Legend focuses on the beginning and main story of F-Zero GP Legend, the anime. The numbers reported on F-Zero Climax's sales are not exact, but the estimates have them around 5,000 units. 5,000! That's just barely less than Persona 5 Royal on PS5, but it was a close one at least.
I was just kidding! Come on! Come on! You guys know I was just kidding, right?
So after this triple failure that came after a triple team-up success, F-Zero was done for. There wasn't a new game in the series. All we had were the rumors that seemed to pop up around every Nintendo announcement, console, anything that kept the hope alive. But with no F-Zero WX, UX, SX, the rumor of a GX remaster became the one that had more hope. We had an insider that was saying this would be our year, having previously predicted other leaks that ended up becoming true. This was a spark of hope. It all came to a head in the September 2023 Nintendo Direct. So the Sora amiibo was due, I guess, because they wanted everyone for Smash Ultimate, but good lord, the roster is so huge that they have to have everybody from every amiibo. That's just not— Mute City!
Children, the time of ascension has arrived.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Is that— But SNES is already on— are they just doing retrospective? What is—
Returns as a 99-player battle royale.
What the fuck?!
So it's a 99-person battle royale. It's— maybe it won't be temporary like the rest of them, but that's kind of my worry if that's the only one that shows up.
One winner.
Today we've had a national tragedy.
Because F-Zero 99 will be available exclusively for active Nintendo Switch Online members later today.
Dang!
Unfortunately, F-Zero 99 does not invoke the same energy as F-Zero X and GX did. A 99-player battle royale, even with 3 to 5 race knockout series in the mini and Grand Prix modes. It's a game that disappointed me with the hopes of a GX remaster that could reach this level. GX was a perfect game for the series, and was only missing online multiplayer. Nintendo heard the call, and gave us a game with only online multiplayer. And yeah, there's practice mode for single player, but you still need Nintendo Switch Online just to play F-Zero 99. I will admit there is some bias because my skill is less than high class, but this is being treated as fans by a step in the right direction. Can anyone say this was the F-Zero game they've been waiting for 19 years?
You can't keep getting away with it!
The consensus that it's better than nothing may not apply here. This is the way the franchise could be revived. You have fans that will justify this release as, okay guys, we all have to play this so Daddy Shigeru notices the game that they can make, could be made, there needs to be interest so they don't make a flop. Why is that burden on the fans? Because they made 3 bad releases with an anime and 2 handhelds, the latter of which had the popularity of mosquitoes? Nintendo will look at the sales of those games alone and say, hey guys, I hope you enjoy Mode 7 Remastered. We can bring this one back as a freebie. After 19 years of dormancy for GX, for these guys to say, hey, what if we did Death Race for F-Zero? And somebody had to say, are you talking about GX? Because we already did F-Zero. No, the first one! That's the one we haven't done it for, right? We had a Death Race for Chapter 4 in GX. That's all that should be enough for these people. You have a company that said they cannot make any new ideas work for F-Zero when they can do it for other games that started on the GameCube. Pikmin and Animal Crossing still exist today. Fucking Pikmin! Aside from graphics and input improvements, have these two really deviated from their core gameplay? And a similar blasting to Sony over the fate of the Wipeout series would be required if it weren't for the fact that Sony was able to remaster the games when they weren't easily available on their current hardware. Wipeout Omega Collection came out in 2017. Granted, that was 9 years after HD Fury and 5 years after Wipeout 2048. It didn't matter that Studio Liverpool closed in 2012. The Wipeout series wasn't broken, it just lost interest. Unfortunate, but it happens to a lot of good games. If you played every game before the Wipeout Omega Collection, you would probably feel the fatigue of playing the same tracks again for another time. But if you're playing on a Nintendo console, you'll know that feeling just from Mario Kart 8. It took Sega making a better F-Zero than Nintendo could ever make on their own. Sega! Their bitter rival until the Dreamcast failed. They became a third-party developer. Sega! It's like when Vince McMahon brought the WCW superstars on after buying out WCW and burying the ones that he didn't like. The disappointment after playing hours of F-Zero 99 for this to feel like a filler game that was slapped with the IP as a test of their desire to make the 99 series games that eventually become lost to time. It's a goddamn insult to those who hoped for a real game. I feel like I'm playing F-Zero Immortal while waiting for F-Zero 4.
Do you guys not have
Nintendo Switch Online.
Watching the Direct, finding out this was the only thing to release for F-Zero. I wasn't even happy to see Thousand Year Door get a remake. That's my favorite Paper Mario game. I was so bothered that GX Remaster was just a fucking joke of a dream. Nintendo is dead to me. And that remains unless a real F-Zero game shows up. It's not the 90s anymore. Nintendo stopped caring about the graphics when it was able to stand up with innovation more at the cost of graphics. Now I'm hypocritical for that, because F-Zero X sacrificed graphics for the sake of gameplay and performance, but releasing another Mode 7 game in the year of our Lord 2023 is unacceptable. I put my faith in those behind Aero GPX and XF Extreme Formula for the future of future racers. I have more faith in F-Zero becoming an IRL event before a new game is made in the series.